Welcome back here to the PvP Live Studios. We're about to get into our second match of the night, Kaldi versus Ostkaka, and we're going to see some long ones. I fully expect a control battle, a lot of dead minions, and a lot of jockeying for board position here.
Yeah, and our matchup with Nyria versus Era, both of those guys love to play control as well, and what crazy games we saw in that one. We saw Prophet Velen combos trying to be utilized. We saw Era make, like, I don't know, 83 Emperor Thorisons or whatever it was. It was crazy what was going on. But Kaldi versus Ostkaka, it can kind of go in the exact same way. You know, both of these guys want to play this long game. There's going to be no shortage, I think, of tricks up their sleeve to make sure that they can get a big edge.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's going to be no shortage of tricks, and one of those tricks you might see, someone might mix it up really, really well here in this round. You know, someone all of a sudden just throws in a face hunter deck, and the other guy's not really ready for it. You can see an easy win somewhere in there. So it's going to be interesting to see if someone decides to, you know, pull that curveball out of their back pocket early in this match.
Yeah, I mean, when you play those aggressive decks too, it kind of forces your opponent to be more honest in their deck building, force them to have ways to answer stuff, and we're going to find out exactly how they're going to set the pace here in game one. Kaldi versus Ostkaka is getting underway.
Yeah, I think we're going to see them jockeying for board. Oh, look, here we go. Right away, we see a mid-range hunter deck out of Kaldi. I was fully expecting a lot of control decks early, some ego maybe to get in the way, like, you know what, I'm the control player in this matchup.
Yeah, I really think Kaldi's kind of recognized the fact that both of these players love to play that style too, and you know, a mid-range hunter deck can really put a lot of pressure. You have high-profile threats that your opponent has to deal with at pretty much every single step of the way, and when they deal with those early threats, what that usually can lead to is you having that massive turn 6 with something like Savannah Highmane and really put a lot of pressure on your opponent after they've used removal.
Yeah, I mean, again, just a great choice here if Ostkaka is actually playing a control deck. We're going to find out in just a second. We got the little spectator bug that we're dealing with, and it looks like he's playing Mage, and if I had to guess, it's going to be Freeze Mage.
Yeah, I'm Freeze Mage very much up his alley, but you know, if Kaldi is really understanding of that, there's a potential for maybe something like a Flare or a Keys and Mystic out of this deck as well, but we don't know exactly what it is. Arcane Intellect, you know, it still could be something like Flame Waker, but we're going to have to get an exact look at his hand. As soon as we get his feed, we're going to show it here, but just, you know, having a few issues with the spectator client. So Kaldi's hand, wow, what a starter.
Yeah, I would be emoting hello as well if my hand was this good. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what Mage deck we have on the side of Ostkaka here. I see a Loot Hoarder, it's got to be Freeze Mage.
It's got to be Freeze Mage. I mean, it's so his deck too.
Yeah, he's just so much known for it.
Yeah, so there's the glimpse of it.
And wow, what a great opener.
Pain. This is a great opener for Ostkaka very early on.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about when Dog was playing Freeze Mage earlier. You know, he got the Nightmare matchup, but he didn't have a draw like this. You need early Loot Hoarders, early Acolyted Pains, early Arcane Intellects. You just want to turn through your deck in the early games and find as many options as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Mad Scientist really one of the best cards in that deck to have early, and he had both of them. The problem was he couldn't follow it up with any card draw, so his hand just was quickly kind of depleted of options and really nothing to do other than hero power for a bunch of turns. But in this game here, no shortage of options. I mean, this Acolyted Pain is going to be checked by an Eagle Horn Bow, and Kaldi's going to be pushing for a minor amount of damage, but again, Ostkaka's got everything that he wants, probably through about turn 6. So if you see him pick up a few extra options, it could be very dangerous for Kaldi.
Yeah, you might even see him do something like Coin Web Spinner here this turn as well, just to get on the board a little bit more, give his Houndmaster a target next turn if he wants to play that on turn 4.
Yeah, sort of one of the only minor issues with that is he is giving Ostkaka a turn to use hero power there, but it does deny some stuff away, like a second Acolyted Pain, but you just killed an Acolyted Pain. Is that really what you're going to be thinking about?
Yeah, well, it looks like he does actually have the second Acolyted Pain, and that is something he wants to do this turn. He could use something like Ice Lance to freeze Kaldi and not let him use his weapon here, but it matters if he wants to utilize his resources that way. He's got a couple options this turn as well, and you got to believe that hero power is up there with most of the options that he wants to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Blood Mage is too crucial in this matchup either. We may see him do something like Ping and Blood Mage. I think it's a viable option, but you know, taking away both of the swings of the Eagle Horn Bow very early on with 2 Acolytes, you've effectively gained a lot of health in that scenario, and your options are going to continue to keep going because you have Arcane Intellect and Blood Mage in your hand. So don't mind the fact that he's just, you know, getting this bow done straight away here and really maximizing the fact that he can keep his life total under control.
Yeah, it's gaining him a lot of life, and he has a lot of card draw already. He has another Arcane Intellect. I mean, he has an Arcane Intellect in his hand to draw some more cards here later. He picks up Anti-Killbot. It's going to be great down the road in this matchup. He's looking for something like Mad Scientist here in the next couple turns.
Excellent roll here too. Actually, you know, picks up 2 damage this turn. And then every single time that's unchecked, every one of his minions is going to get buffed here too. So pretty excellent start from him, but not a lot of pressure on Ostkaka. You know, he's down to 23 at this point, but he's got Blizzard rolling into turn 6, and then he's got multiple freeze effects, you know, kind of going forward afterwards. So Blood Mage, Frostbolt able to handle the Leok, and you know, this board is kind of a little bit stifled at this point. You know, sitting behind 2 Web Spitters and a Houndmaster, not a ton going for Kaldi.
Yeah, he needs a juggle here to go into one of these blood mages. Let him push in a little extra damage without using one of his minions to trade here. It doesn't happen, you know, it's fine. Ostkaka is also fine with this. Getting an extra card and drawing one of those mad scientists, like we said, is a pretty good draw for him. But this is not the best turn. I mean, this is one of the better turns to have a Blizzard here. You're going to really stifle Kaldi's development.
Yeah, Kaldi also left with a freezing trap, a web spinner, and a kill command in his hand. So he does have a little bit of reach here, but once again, he's not getting in a full attack this turn. So if he doesn't draw something like Savannah Highmane or maybe some charge damage or a piloted shredder, this game could quickly start to slip out of control because Ostkaka's got anti-Keelbot and multiple ways to continue to deal with stuff.
Yeah, he's just missing Emperor Thorson pretty much from this hand to just make it almost perfect. It wouldn't make it perfect, but it would just be so great in the situation. You just want to get an Emperor in play as soon as possible.
Yeah, also at this point too, just, you know, multiple freeze draws are totally fine as well. And I think with the pressure he's got going forward, it's looking great for him. His defensive game is looking picture perfect so far.
Yeah, Ironbeak Owl is a pretty important one in this match. You know, he can't Ironbeak Owl his own guy here, yeah, so it breaks the freeze.
Just needs the extra damage.
Attack. It's a pretty important one against Doomsayer in this match, but we're kind of past that point in the game. So, like, I kind of actually like this play from Kaldi. Just get him low. You've got him to 11. If he doesn't have something like Anti-Keelbot or Ice Barrier, which you see that he actually has both of here, then he can't gain a ton of life and get out of range of your hero power and kill command.
Yeah, I wonder if Ostkaka's at all worried about something like double kill command coming from Kaldi. I mean, I really love that Kaldi's holding the web spinner in his hand. He doesn't want to get it just picked off. He wants to use it as a kill command enabler this game to get that extra damage through. So I love that he's held on to it here, but Ostkaka, you know, he is at 11 at this point, so he does have to play defensively in terms of his life total this turn.
Yeah, you're gonna look for him to do something like gain life from his anti-kill bot here, use this hero power to pick something off, and then start to develop ice blocks and ice barriers over the next couple turns.
Yeah, so just going to take his time and make sure that he goes through the best sequence. Can't pick off all the beasts from Kaldi's side of the board this turn, so doesn't have the option. He obviously wants to use his Frostbolt anyway. Doesn't really have the option to take away that liberty from Kaldi. So I like the Ice Barrier Mad Scientist and Ping. You know, this is about one of the most efficient turns I think you're going to get from his hand.
Yeah, I like this turn as well from him. He had a couple different options, a couple different ways to take it.
Wow, Kill Command is actually a really brutal draw at this point. So he's going to go ahead and you know, hope that this is Ice Block and that he can pop it. He's going to get the bad news here that it is in fact Ice Barrier. And now moving forward, Ostkaka's got a lot of leverage to keep this here. You know, he can play the Anti-Keelbot next turn. I'm sorry, he can play the Ice Block next turn to try to guarantee that he gets something off of this Mad Scientist, but Freezing Trap's going to take that ability away. That's one of the reasons why Kaldi used that Anti-Keelbot, I'm sorry, the Ironbeak Owl to push 4 more points of damage is because he had a way to check a future Mad Scientist.
Yeah, if you did have something like Freezing Trap here, you could have seen maybe Ostkaka really start to look forward to getting an Alexstrasza turn going. That might be one of the reasons he didn't use his Anti-Kill Bot yet, is he wanted to be able to Alexstrasza on turn 9 after ice blocking and then use the Anti-Kill Bot the turn after that just to get a ton of health back. Yeah. But his hand might be a little forced now.
I mean, there is a potential to see that. I have to say with the trap down that he's going to assume this is something like Freezing Trap, but at this point try to turn that into a liability with the Anti-Kill Bot.
Yeah, that is something that Ostkaka can do. We saw that happen in our last match, actually, where you don't want to have a Freezing Trap against Anti-Keelbot when you're a hunter. Letting them gain that extra 8 life in a game can sometimes be just too much for you to deal with.
Kaldi gets a second web spinner off of his web spinner.
So yeah, you're going to see Ostkaka
no
not
shortage of
here.
web spinners, but you know, again, he doesn't have a way to actually deal with this Anti-Keelbot this turn, so that Freezing Trap at this point actually just becomes a liability.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, and it's actually going to happen in this game. It's going to become a big-time liability. If he gets to attack with his Anti-Kill Bot and get it up and gain 8 more life of it, that is way too much value for Ostkaka here. It's going to be really hard for Kaldi to win. Yeah, and yeah, you're going to see Kaldi just push everything. And he has Flame Strike here
for this board, too. Yeah. So no shortage of options for him. I mean, everything's in his court. He even picks up Frost Nova to extend the turns in which he may want to use this Frost Nova. I mean, everything's going Ostkaka's ways. Kaldi's completely out of cards. This is the power of Freeze Mage, is that when your opponent is trying to play these strategies that will put pressure on you, all you're trying to do is stifle that damage and then look for big swing turns with stuff like Flame Strike, with stuff like Frost Novas and Doomsayers, or just massive amounts of health on your side of the board.
Yeah, Loot Hoarder, not the worst thing to get out of here. It is going to trade for this.
Captain's Parrot is. And Malorn, actually, it's, you know, a minor, this is actually like a pretty reasonable threat to have behind
It's recurable.
Yeah, well, you have to draw it again. I don't think
this game's going to go long.
It could go long. There is Alexstrasza in this hand as well, though, and he's got Anti-Keelbot to go back behind that. So this is like a back-breaking position for Kaldi. If he doesn't find himself picking up absolutely perfect cards at pretty much every step of the way, he's going to find himself losing this game.
Yeah, Loot Hoarder, not the worst minion to come off. It checks this Mad Scientist right away, plus it's going to draw a card when it dies, so it could have been worse from Kaldi's point. I do like him attacking the 1/1 here and shooting the Loot Hoarder, getting almost all of Kaldi's board here, though. Well, and Dr. Boom drawing, that's a pretty good one.
Very good threat. I imagine he's going to be going with Dr. Boom this turn. And the Mad Scientist loved the fact that he didn't sacrifice his Mad Scientist this turn. It gives him the ability to maybe play that Ice Block next turn and then get his second Ice Barrier out of his deck. You know, he'd love to have that guarantee. Right now it's at a 50-50, and it is the other Ice Barrier. That we can see that because he drew the second Ice Block, but also because that Ice Block had the green portrait around it. It means he could play that, so it's got to be Ice Barrier in that point. But again, Ostkaka, no shortage of great plays this turn. Frost Nova can keep this board in check, and then he can anti-heal bot to heal himself right back up.
Yeah, he could use Frost Nova as a semi, like, just let's make this stay where it's at right this turn, and let me get myself going a little bit here, and getting another anti-heal bot into play is a pretty good play here too. There are some, I don't think Alexstrasza is something that he really wants to do this turn.
Well, Alexstrasza and Ice Lance could be a pretty reasonable play too. He just wants more options though, and this is something you'll see from him time and again. He just wants to take his time and make sure that everything is under very strict control. And now he's picked up the second Ice Lance, I imagine you're going to see Alexstrasza next turn.
Yeah, and he picked up a second Frost Nova here as well. Him drawing card there, I'm pretty positive he's looking for Doomsayer. We haven't seen one yet, and this is a pretty good spot to have a Doomsayer.
Yeah, this would have been, not only would it have pulled initiative away from Kaldi and given Ostkaka free reign over the board position, but it also would have bought himself, a great turn in terms of clearing up all these minions. He would love to get that completely under control. But again, with his hand constructed the way it is, it's going to be very difficult for Kaldi to actually put enough pressure to get this game over with.
Yeah, Ostkaka has both his secrets in play here, Ice Block and Ice Shield. He's got a ton of pressure behind in his hand. He has the Alexstrasza, one Frostball, double Ice Lance. He's got a ton of damage to help finish this game off as well.
Yeah, so it looks like, this is looking sort of like the Alexstrasza turn to me. I'd have to say there is one. Well, maybe we were a little bit wrong here.
Maybe we were a little hasty on that, but Doomsayer might change some things up here. Frost Nova Doomsayer is a pretty big turn here.
It does have to start worrying a little bit about direct damage popping an Ice Block, and I don't think he's in fear of anything like Flare at this point. Kaldi's, he has been patient, kind of been holding on to cards a little bit, so maybe thinking about it, but at this juncture, I would have to say that something like Frost Nova Doomsayer is just going to be too powerful of a turn to pass up.
Yeah, and you still get to do a couple other things as well. This turn, he gets to weave in a hero power if he wants.
There is a little bit of a worry to the Frost Nova Doomsayer. He's going to go to 7 next turn from this hero power. The Boombots could just hit for 7 and kill him. Ice Block can't trigger on your own turn.
Well, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, you're going to actually see him play the anti-heal bot and get his life total back up to a high number here instead.
Yeah, so at this point, I got to imagine he wants to play this Alexstrasza and then use the anti-heal bot to just steal 3 points of damage and help get his opponent to that point where he can utilize the Frostbolt and then the 2 Ice Lances to back it up. If he draws either Fireball, the second Frostbolt, or gets in 3 points of damage with this anti-heal bot, that's really going to spell the difference here.
Yeah, Kaldi's going to give this anti-heal bot 1 toughness here, and he's going to draw a card off this quick shot, getting in a couple extra damage. He draws Kill Command. He's getting through to a bunch of his reach spells here in this game.
Yeah, so it's a matter of now whether or not he wants to kill this anti-heal bot. If he doesn't kill this anti-heal bot, it could spell trouble for him. It looks like he looks like he understands exactly what Ostkaka's game plan was, though.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him that he had to use that Hunter's Mark there that turn just to draw an extra card, because he could maybe use it possibly in a Doomsayer later in the game. But again, that might not come up here with the way this game is playing out.
Yeah, Ostkaka now kind of in an uncomfortable position. I think he has to Alexstrasza this turn and just hope that his draws pan out, because at this point he's completely out of draw power, has no way to stop the pressure that Kaldi's going to be applying to him. It's just built up too much. He's sitting behind an Ice Block. What else can he really do?
Oh, this is interesting. He's going to Ice Lance the Malorn so he can't attack his Alexstrasza cleanly. He's going to have to run multiple things into this Alexstrasza to take care of it.
Really surprised by this play as well, because with the Frostbolt and 2 Ice Lances in his hand, Fireball would have been a lethal draw. Now Fireball's only dealing 13 points of damage. He does have the Ice Block to sit behind it though, so he will have turns to get his hero powers in. So not the weirdest thing in the world, but I still think I would have liked to see him just save the other Ice Lance in his hand and just go for damage.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that play here, but it's going to be interesting. Ostkaka has a ton of games in with this deck, so it's really hard to argue with his play lines most of the time. And there's a reason he's over there and we're over here as well.
So I'm going to see exactly where these Boombots land. This is actually, I think, pretty important. Should he choose to go with that route, he has to kill Alexstrasza this turn. So no surprise to see this happen. But at this point, only one of these Boombots is dying this turn. With 3 is a lot. But he can't shoot this through this Ice Barrier, so not even the Ice Block's going to get popped this turn.
Yeah, he's going to actually just let him go to 2 here, so he can use his hero power next turn to take care of it and try to burn him out from here, maybe.
Yeah, now Ostkaka in a really interesting position when he picks up this Emperor Thoros on him. We're going to see him use the other Ice Lance in this spot. He needs damage at this point, and he doesn't have it.
Yeah, he put himself in a weird spot by using an Ice Lance last turn. If he wins this match, it's going to be very interesting to ask him about that, what was going through his head with that play. Because again, I'm not really sure myself what he was thinking about the turn. He was trying to make it a weird attack from Kaldi to take some of his board position, but again, it's stifling his own chance to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I have to believe he's playing some mix of threats this turn. Oh, Emperor Thorson, yeah, that's in play for sure. And I mean, Kaldi has to deal with this now and sort of in a similar position. He can't kill the Ice Barrier. That's not really a concern to him at this point, though. He's seen Alexstrasza, he's seen Antique Healbot, you know, just the hero power is going to be enough. And now that he's picked up this freezing trap, I think he feels like maybe he doesn't have to kill this Emperor Thorson after all.
Yeah, you're going to see him actually not do a lot of attacking here because, again, he's just going to try to kill him with hero power and play around these traps as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the attack with Malorn will chew through the entire Ice Barrier, though. So, you know, setting him to 1, I think could be a very important position to be in. And, you know, something else that can't happen is Ostkaka can't play these Doomsayers because if he rolls into his turn at 1 life and Doomsayer clears the board, the Boombot's just going to kill him afterwards.
Yeah, it's actually a weird spot that he's in with these Doomsayers not being able to take care of this Boombot. It's going to be a weird spot for him for the rest of the game because that situation is going to be there for every turn going forward.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just really anyone's guess at this point. It's a matter of whether or not Ostkaka's going to have the right combinations of cards, and he's going to pick off this ice block, kill this Emperor Thorson, and then move forward from there. Yep, Savannah Highmane added to the board. I mean, Ostkaka needs something to get this damage done. He needs a fireball, like basically in the next, I mean, he has to have a fireball next turn or this game is over with.
Yeah, this is, again, getting rid of this Ice Lance out of his hand. He did away with 4 damage here in this game, so he would be able to maybe finish off Kaldi a little bit sooner in this game.
Well, I mean, you know, the fact that he wouldn't have enough time to actually deal enough damage with hero power anyway, so the fact that he used that Ice Lance to try to gain advantage actually kind of worked out in his favor this game. You know, he had an opportunity at least for Alexstrasza to really get something done. So, but in this position, it's fireball or bust.
Yeah, he's gonna need a fireball next turn. You're gonna see him develop an ice block here this turn.
I'm even going to go for the damage now to free up any points of mana that he possibly can. You know, if he draws something like Arcane Intellect and has to invest some mana into it, wants to alleviate every position possible. Kaldi going down to 6. I mean, this is it, man. He needs Fireball and Fireball only for Ostkaka. And Piloted Shredder's not going to do anything to add any pressure to this turn. He's going to chew through this Ice Barrier very easily. Major draw coming up here.
Yeah, he's going to put Ostkaka down to 1, pop his shield here. And you know what? Ostkaka, he's got to draw Fireball or a way to draw into it. This is a huge draw here. Who's going to be 1-0 in the lead here in this match?
Yeah, so few cards left in his deck, too. I mean, there's 2 Fireballs still left, and Pyroblast would work as well. And
there's
Fireball is going to do it. I mean,
wow.
There are 3 outs left in the bottom cards of this deck.
From Ostkaka, too. Yeah. I like it. He was a little stone-faced that whole match. He had a really good poker face going on, but you saw a little bit of it come in there, and you saw the well played, too, right before the end of the turn, too. What a game played by Ostkaka there, understanding his own outs there, playing to them, and you know what? He got it there in that last turn.
Yeah, I mean, using that Ice Lance to try to get an edge with that Alexstrasza ended up being something that was very interesting in that game. He didn't need the Ice Lance, and he understood that he was going to have time to sit behind his Ice Barrier, sit behind his Ice Blocks, and make sure that he could get hero powers to make up for that damage that was lost when he invested the Ice Lance for a freeze effect. So, you know, rolling into that bottom part of the game, again, just so many outs in his bottom 3 cards. He had multiple turns to draw it and got it on the very last turn.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about, you know, he gave up a lot of damage potential getting rid of that Ice Lance there, but if we did the math right, he was actually going to be a couple points short even with his hero powers weaved in there. So again, he actually played correct there. Used that Ice Lance, you know, kind of messed up that turn a little bit for Kaldi, and then he had the fortunate top deck.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out the recap for this game, you can do that over at pvplive.net. Ostkaka's played a lot of Freeze Mage in the past, and you can see his full competitive history, as well as Kaldi, exactly how he's chosen to play in the past, the strategies that he wants to use. All that good stuff is available there. But when we come back, guys, Game 2 is going to be getting underway. Ostkaka finds himself to a 1-0 lead, but Kaldi, you know, he can easily turn this match back around. Don't go anywhere, guys. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.